I had some regret. I had some things that could have been handled way different, or I could have been more responsible. Um, I think about them more than I think about
Yeah.
successes. Like I forget some of the stuff that was good
Yeah.
because you expect, oh, that's supposed to be that way. But the stuff that goes awry, man, that's the stuff that just irks you.
Yeah, but it depends on like on too what you like in the match or physically. Those things are just going to happen. Like, and then you learn. I think even whether it's a decision or you said you would be more responsible, as long as you learn from those things that go wrong, and you grow as a person, I don't know that you can truly have that much regret. Like if you keep doing the same stuff over and over, okay, I get that, but I mean, we get to our path and we get to our place in life through our mistakes and things that we wish we had done different.
Yeah.
That's the way I look, and I didn't always look at it like that. Like I would beat myself up over a lot of things, but it's kind of where we finish, and that's all part of, in my opinion, that's part of the journey, is making the mistakes and learning from the mistakes and not making them again, and then being able to pass on that knowledge and that understanding to other people.
Well, Lord knows between the two of y'all, passing on knowledge. I mean, how many people have you? I know you speak all the time about Bianca. How many people have you?
Champions.
Just in general.
Just in general, but I mean,
you brought a lot of people to the table, man.
I feel like
it's
every other
probably
person.
about 12 of them.
Dang.
12 that have been like world champion or tag champion. I remember I saw Apollo Crews and Rich Swann in Japan. And we were over there in Japan, wrestling at, Kobo Hall and, the big time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm watching TV and I see wrestling on TV. They got strong wrestling in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
And I see these two dudes and they just entertain the hell out of me. And I remember getting back, the next show in America was in Columbus, Ohio. And I went in Vince's office and I said, hey, man, I saw these two dudes tag team in Japan. It is incredible, man. I was like, they need to work here. And he said, well, bring them here. And I said, what you mean, bring them here? And he said, just bring them here and let's take a look at them. And that was the first time that I ever got the permission to bring somebody into wrestling. But during that time, I had started going to NXT, or it wasn't NXT then, it was what the Florida Championship?
FCW. Yeah, FCW.
So I started going to FCW doing big man camps. So I only worked with the big dudes. And I ain't never talked no girls, never taught none of the smaller guys, just the big ones. And we had fun because my whole philosophy working with big guys, can you do it to everybody? Can you do it safely? Mm-hmm. And do you get tired?
Yep.
Don't get tired. Saves everything else. So you don't work at a pace which allows you to be impaired.
Yeah.
Because the more you go in the match, in the deep water, you take 20-minute match, and you don't have enough oxygen going to your brain, you start to forget,
Game
you start
over.
to put somebody's life in jeopardy. So that's the number one. That's like the thing that's the most important to me. But everything that you do, you have to be able to do it to everybody, and you have to be able to do it safely. And so we had these fun deals, and then Vince called me and said, hey, Gerald Briscoe is going to the Olympics, and we want you to go with him. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I started traveling with them and thinking from a recruiting standpoint, which I had never done before. And then the more that I did it, people started reaching out to me going, hey, can you get me into wrestling? And I was like, that ain't my department. I just do it for fun. And then it ended up becoming a thing. So the first one was Braun Strowman. Oh. He became world champion. Then Baron Corbin was next, and he became champion. Before them, I didn't train Brian Danielson.
Right.
I just saw Brian on TV and said, "Hey, y'all need to get this dude," and because I saw a match he had, and I was like, "This dude is good as the people we got on WWE." Like, whoa. And I lied, and I told them that he was like 6 feet tall because they wanted bigger guys, and like 200 pounds, and it was Brian Danielson who was 5'11" maybe.
Yeah.
Man, to have somebody that's a Hall of Fame caliber wrestler that you can hang your hat on is pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point to where I saw Bianca Belair at the national championships for CrossFit. And she's doing cartwheels. Like, you're supposed to be conserving energy.
Yeah.
Right.
She's doing cartwheels between the implements. And she had on like
One of those
a
little tutu
fluffy
skirts.
tutu
Yeah.
and like a big giant Mickey Mouse bow in her hair.
While she competes. Yeah.
While she was competing. I said, this girl don't need to be in this. She needs to be a wrestler. Like, she's entertaining.
She was already doing it. Yeah.
And so I said, let me look her up on social media. So I looked her up, and she was like 18 or 17 or something like that. And I was like, damn, I ain't calling no young girl. Let me see who could do this for me. So I got Mark Carano to get one of the ladies. I think it was Kathy or who does the other travel now? Holly was the one that called her. And I said, can you call this girl and get her information, find out who her mom and dad is. I need to talk to somebody's parents.
Oh my gosh.
And so they reached out and called the girl, and she was like, Mark Henry, like the wrestler Mark Henry? And I said, tell her I need to talk to her dad or mom or somebody. And her dad called me the next day, and I talked to him. He said, is this really the real Mark Henry? You know, we've been watching wrestling for years. And I was like, yeah.
Meant to be.
I was like, it was meant to be. And that just became like the pitch now. Now I reach out. I probably had, it's 16 of them that have either been in a title match or won a world title.
That's impressive.
And something. So my success rate is real, real high. And there's a couple of them. They had a big deal at Full Sail. It's the Performance Center, but it was WrestleMania probably 17 or 18. That was 17 the year before I retired, and there was like 20 kids of color down at the facility training. Montez Ford was one of them. It was a bunch of those. The kids now that you see in wrestling, they were kids back then,
right.
like 17, 18-year-olds that never had any. And about 16 or 17 of them were invitees from me. Dang. And they all were like, how'd you get here? You know, I wasn't there.
I'm just 15%.
Going by the story that Bianca was saying. And everybody went around the table going, oh, yeah, Mark Henry called me and told me I should be in wrestling. And that's going to be the thing that outlived me.